Welcome to e-Semplice, where music theory is simplified. In this video, we'll be considering the doubling versus the halving of time signatures, and it covers grades 2 to 4 music theory. What is time signature? Time signature, also known as meter signature or measure signature, tells how many bits are in each bar and which note value has the 1 bit. Time signatures have two figures, a top figure and a bottom figure. This is an example 3/4 time. The 3 on top, the top number 3, is the number of bits in one bar, while the bottom figure 4 signifies the note that has the 1 bit value, that is the principal note. Now let's briefly look at principal notes before we get into the doubling and the halving process. These are numbers signifying certain notes. Now when you see 2 as the bottom number, 2 signifies the note, meaning 4 signifies crotchet or quarter note, 8 signifies quiver or 8th note, while 16 signifies semi-quiver or 16th note. Now let's just briefly look at some examples of these principal notes. Here we have 3/2 time. The 2 under signifies a meaning. 2/4 time, the 4 under, as the bottom number, signifies a crotchet. We have 3/8 time, the 8 below signifies a quiver, and then we have 6/16. The bottom figure 16 signifies a semi-quiver. Effects of doubling or halving time signatures. The doubling process or halving process affects the principal note only. That is, it affects the bottom note only and has no effect on the top number. The top number of the time signature remains untouched, that's intact. Only the bottom number is affected. The process of doubling or halving changes the time signature to a new one, and then it changes the note values. Let us take some real examples now. This is example 1. Let's consider the doubling process, or twice the value. Now this is 4/4 time. Let's double this time signature and see what it becomes. Definitely the time signature will change to a new one, and the note values will also change. Remember, the top figure is not affected by the doubling process. Only the bottom figure is affected. Here we have 4. And remember from our table, 4 signifies crotchet. So what you are actually doing here, you are doubling the crotchet. You double the crotchet. You don't double 4 as a figure. Look at that 4 as a note. and the note here is a crochet. So if you double a crochet, that is, make a crochet twice its value. If you double a crochet, you get a minim. So the time signature changes to 4-2 time. Remember, the top number is not affected, and the top number signifies the number of beats in a bar. 4 remains, but the bottom figure changes. Now that you have a new time signature, let's double each of the notes. The crochet above becomes a minim, and then the quiver triplets become a crochet triplet, and then the crochet becomes a minim again, another minim, the bar line, and then you double the last note. If you double the last note, you are going to have a brief. Now you see the values have changed. We have a new time signature. The only thing that remains unchanged is the number of beats in a bar. Remember, 4-4 is a simple quadruple, and 4-2 is also a simple quadruple. Quadruple in that both of them have 4 main beats in a bar. Example 2, we are still in the doubling process. This is 3/8 time. Remember, the top number remains unchanged, so 3 remains 3 for top number, but the bottom number here is 8, and from your table, 8 signifies a quiver. So what you are doing here, you are doubling a quiver. You are making a quiver twice the value. If you double a quiver, the note you would have is a crochet. So the time signature changes from 3/8 to 3/4. Now let's double the notes one by one. Now the quavers above will become crochets each, the bar line, and the dotted crochet above becomes a dotted minim. Number of beats per bar remains the same, but the principal note changes. This question is from Muson examination, May 2016, and it's a grade 3 question. It says, copy this tune in notes and rest of double value. Add the new time signature. Now let's do this together. Remember, the upper number of the signature does not change, the time signature, so we have 3 there, but the bottom number will definitely change. Now the bottom number 4 signifies a crochet. Now if you double a crochet, it becomes a minim. So the time signature changes from 3/4 to 3/2 time. Now the next thing you do is double the value of each of the notes. Now let's do that together. The first note in bar 1 is a crochet, that will become a minim. Then we have 2 quavers, which will become 2 crochets. Then another crochet there becomes a minim. Then the bar line, second bar, we have 6 quavers. The 6 quavers, if you double each of it, it becomes 6 crochets. Now the bar line, we have a crochet rest. If you double the value, it becomes a minim rest. Then we have 2 quiver rests. Now doubling each will become 2 crochet rests. Then the crochet in that bar 3 becomes a minim, the bar line, the dotted crochet becomes dotted minim, the quiver becomes a crochet, the last crochet in that bar becomes a minim, then the bar line. And if you double a dotted minim, it becomes dotted semi-brief, and we close the bar. So that's how to answer this type of question. Now let's proceed. This is another question, still from Muson examination, May 2020, and this is a grade 4 question. The question says, rewrite this melody using notes of twice the value. Remember to include the new time signature. Now, after the key signature, we have the time signature represented by C, and C means common time, and common time is 4/4 time. So we'll be working with 4/4 time. Now the upper number does not change. We bring down the 4, but the lower number will definitely change. The lower number there signifies a crochet. If you double a crochet, it becomes a minim. So the time changes from 4/4 time to 4/2 time. Now let's now double the value of each of the notes in the music. We have a dotted crochet, it becomes a dotted minim. Then we have 2 beamed semi-quivers, they will become 2 quivers. Then we have 4 beamed semi-quivers, they will also become quivers. Then we have a dotted quiver and a semi-quiver. The dotted quiver would become a dotted crochet, and the semi-quiver will become a quiver. Then the bar line. If you check that bar, you'll see we have a total of 4 minims in that bar, and that balances the bar for the new time signature. Now we move to bar 2. We have a dotted minim. If you double that, you'll have a dotted semi-brief, and then doubling the beamed semi-quivers, you have beamed quivers, the bar line. Then we'll double each of these notes. The quiver becomes a crochet, the 2 semi-quivers will become 2 quivers, the 4 semi-quivers will become 4 quivers, then the quiver and 2 semi-quivers will become a crochet and 2 quivers. Then the dotted quiver becomes a dotted crochet. Then the 2 semi-quivers will become 2 semi-quivers. Then the bar line. The first note in the last bar is a minim. If you double that, you'll have a semi-brief, and the music continues. Now if you check through, you'll see each of these bars are fully balanced, each with 4 minim beats per bar. Now we come to this section where we are going to try to halve time signatures. Initially we were doubling the time signatures, we were making the values twice of what was given, but here we are halving, or doing it at half the value. In this first example, 2/2 time, the new time signature and note values would be below. The upper number does not change, so we bring down that 2, but the lower number signifies a minim. Now you are halving, that is half the value. If you have a value, if you have a minim, you are going to have a crochet. So the lower number of the time signature will become 4. Now, just like we did when we were doubling, now we are going to have each of the notes and rest. So the first note there is a crochet. If you have that, you'll have a quiver. Then crochet rest will become quiver rest. The minim will become crochet, and then the bar line. Then the semi-breve will become a minim, and the final bar line. Now check through, you'll see that each of the bars actually has 2 crochet beads per bar. Let's take example 2. 4/4 time, we are still halving. Now 4/4 time here, top number remains the same, so that's the top number. The bottom number is a crochet. If you have a crochet, you'll have a quiver. So a quiver is represented by 8. So the time signature changes from 4/4 to 4/8. The next thing you do is halve the notes and the rest. The crochet above will become a quiver note. The crochet rest will become quiver rest. The second crochet rest, another quiver rest. The last crochet in bar 1 becomes a quiver. Then the bar line. The first crochet in bar 2 becomes a quiver. The crochet rest becomes a quiver rest, and the minim rest becomes a crochet rest, and we end that bar. All the bars are well balanced. This is a grade 2 question from Muson examination May 2020. The question says, rewrite on the stave provided below the following melody in notes and rest of half value. Adjust the time signature. Now let's just resolve this together. I'm not going to use a stave, but I'll just take the notes and we'll solve this together. Remember, the top number is not affected by the halving process, so you bring down the 3, but the bottom number will be affected. 4 signifies a crochet. If you have a crochet, you'll have a quiver, and the figure 8 signifies a quiver. Now we will now go bar to bar, halving the notes and rest. Let's start from bar 1. The first note there is a dotted crochet. If you have that, you are going to have a dotted quiver followed by a semi quiver followed by another quiver, then the bar line. Now in this bar you have 6 quivers. Now if you have all that, you are going to have 6 semi quivers, then the bar line. Then we have a dotted quiver, semi quiver, crochet, crochet. If you have all that, this is what you will have. And then the bar line. Then we have a minim. If you have that, you have a crochet. We now have a crochet rest. If you have that, you have a quiver rest. The bar line. This is a silent bar. occupied by full bars rest. So for 3/8 time, you retain that rest. The bar line. Then the last bar, we have a quiver rest, quiver, crochet, crochet. If you have all that, you are going to have a semi-quiver rest followed by semi-quiver note, quiver, quiver, then the bar line. In the last bar, we have a dotted meaning. If you have that, you are going to have a dotted crochet, and then we end the bar. Now checking through the music, now you'll see each bar is well balanced for 3/8 time. Now the very last question under halving of time signatures. This is still from Muson examination May 2021, and it is a grade 3 question, and it says write out the melody from the beginning of bar 5 to the end of the music using the notes of half the value. The upper number does not change, but the bottom number definitely changes. A crochet, if you have that, you'll have a quiver. So we are starting from bar 5. The first 4 notes in bar 5 are quivers. If you have those, you'll have 4 semi-quivers, followed by a crochet, which becomes a quiver and another quiver. The bar line. Let's work on the second bar. That's bar 6 now. Bar 7. Bar 8. And the final bar. Best of luck in your examination. Many thanks for watching. For more videos, subscribe to e-Semplice YouTube channel.